It's my pleasure this morning to have the Director of Kanabec County Public Health, that's Kathy Burski, in with me, along with Helen Piper, and she is the Transit Director for Timber Trails. And we'll explain why these two are in with me today. First of all, good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for being along. We have some really wonderful news about something going forward, and it's not all necessarily done yet, but we want to get the word out. And why don't we start with this morning, Kathy, with you, because there's a process. What we're talking about is there's been some funding that has come together to help out with transportation. That's where Helen's going to come in our area to help people beyond kind of the borders of what's been set previously. And so, Kathy, why don't you start with, I know you did the actual grant writing. Talk about that to start with.
The grant is offered through the Central Minnesota Council on Aging, and they serve, I think it's 14 counties kind of in the central region. Public Health has had funding from them for years and years and years to do our public health nurse clinic. And this year, when I was working on that application, I talked to Helen. I said, there is the option for some assisted transportation. Is this something we want to try to do to fill the gap that the bus can only go so far, and so this is meant to serve those that are outside that bus service area. And she said we should try something. We got to start somewhere. Let's take a look at it. So we sat down and talked about what it looks like and how it might work. I put the grant together. It was funded, and so here we are. Now we need to actually implement, and it's going to take a little bit, but we're excited for the opportunity to serve those that we haven't been able to in the past.
Sure, and get them to areas that they couldn't get to before. And Helen has been just a great advocate and speaker for timber trails and transportation in our areas, worked with Karen Onan from the East Central Regional Transit Commission. So, Helen, I appreciate all you're doing. And those timber trail buses, I see them everywhere. Everywhere. They do such a great job getting folks around our listening area, to be quite honest. But Helen, explain to someone who's not as familiar, what have been the limitations to this point, and what will this grant maybe help with?
There's an area in the northern part of Kanabec County, and then another significant area over west of Highway 47. So what we have is a service design that we write into the management plan for the public transit program, and that service design is built on historical data on who needs rides and how often they go. Basically, we're about 10 miles north of Mora, on the border up that way, and then the county line on two of them, and then Highway 47 is on the west side of 47. There has to be a line. Right. There's got to be a line.
Like anything else.
Yeah.
Right.
And, it breaks our heart when somebody's 3/4 of a mile off the line, and my dispatchers, we work really hard to find ways to make that work, but especially in that northern part of Kanabec County.
Yeah, MnDOT, and they provide funding kind of based on number of rides per hour, right. And if we get too far out, we're not going to be able to meet that number of rides per hour if we're traveling empty to pick somebody up for 15, 20 minutes. So that's why there's that limit to that service area.
Sure. And ideally, and Helen, we've talked about this before too, is that you have maybe that crossover where then somebody else, another opportunity picks up these people. But still, you have to consider, the further rural you get, within a mile, maybe there's only one house, that kind of thing. And they're looking for numbers, and I get it. They have to have some kind of a formula. But that's where something like this might be able to fill that gap. So why don't we talk about, if someone's listening this morning, they're like, okay, who does this pertain to? Why don't we start with that? Either one of you who want to pick up the ball there.
Well, I'll just start with the grant requirement is age 60 and older.
Okay.
So that they have to meet that basic eligibility. They have to be age 60 and over.
Okay.
They consider this a registered service, which is just a way that we have to report things, and we're not reporting names, just numbers of people. But so we will require that they fill out some paperwork. It's pretty simple. It's a little 2-page thing. And once they're registered, they just need to call Timber Trails and let the dispatchers do their magic. But right now it is, one van. It's a county-owned van We're starting with drivers that will be paid, but the goal would be, so that we can sustain it into the future, to have a volunteer drive that county-owned van to provide this service.
So would the van be a special different one? Because I see all the, we just talked about all the ones we see around town. So this would be designated for this situation.
Right, and it is not lift equipped or anything. It is just your standard van, so somebody will have to have some, a pretty good degree of mobility. Right. They'll need to be able to transfer themselves, that type of thing. Right now,
at this point in time.
Yeah. So again, a place to start.
Right. That's the thing that I'm so excited about this. This is the first time that we've had some money that we can dedicate to finding out what's out there. I love the word super rural, because that's what that northern part of Kanabec County is. And then you've got Aiken in there, and you've got Pine County. I mean, there's all these super rural areas where you don't have the population density to support public transit, not the way that we see it right now. And if we can get out there and we can find the people that want to go, that will use the service, that we can document, then we can turn around down the road and say to MnDOT, all right, this is really what we have. This isn't anecdotal anymore. This right. We've got the stats. This is how we prove it. Yeah. And this is the first time we've had the money to do that.
Well, it's just so nice to see that they at least are looking, they're seeing the need. It's now, how do we fill that need? And so the services, again, provided by this county-owned van. So do they have to go buy the van, or is it already one available? I guess I know a taxpayer is going to go, okay, how does that work?
It's one we currently have in our fleet.
Okay.
And we do have well, it's used to help provide some other rides, but those have a lot more restrictions on them. So
okay.
We have a couple of them. So this one, it is county owned. It's already owned. It is maintained by the transit department. The transit department has never required any tax dollars to operate.
That's right.
So far,
all the years that we've been here, since 2009, the transit department has not used county tax dollars,
and that's good for people to know.
Any of the bus service or the volunteer driver program. Right.
So, Helen, has it more or less been self-sustained then? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I know.
Okay. So now, don't forget, we get huge. 85 or 90% of our budget comes from the state of Minnesota to run the public transit service. So. There's this
tax
real
dollars in a different way,
right? Exactly, but good to explain though. Good to explain.
And then, so there is this hard line. You will see no public transit money going into this program. The vehicles won't be signed like the buses. They're it's a Dodge Caravan and a Pacifica. So it's just a van. We're hoping for economy.
Sure.
And good use of resources, and mostly we hear that these people are out there. We see it in surveys. Karen at the RTCC just did a wonderful survey. So we know they're out there. We just got to find them. We got to get the people together and prove that the service is needed. And this gets them. There is literally nothing worse in the world than having somebody be just a little ways outside that line. And
so
not
frustrating.
Be able to, Yep. And they need it. They need it so badly. This is. And this won't be restricted to medical. That's the other thing.
Actually, one of the goals of the Central Minnesota Council on Aging, they recognize that isolation is not healthy, that people need to be connected, and so they can come in, make an appointment to get their hair done and give us a call.
Absolutely.
They can come into an event that might be happening during the week at their church or wherever. Mm-hmm. So it is nice that it's not restricted to that. However, it can be used to bring them into the clinic or go to grocery shopping or whatever it might be.
Needs are.
Yep.
Well, and the independence aspect of it is so important. Not only are you making sure that they're staying active and being part of the community, but they don't feel that isolation just because you're out a little bit. Maybe what I envision is a husband and wife, for example, maybe getting a little older, and something happens. Maybe one spouse passes and they were the driver. They were the one that took from point A to point B, and all of a sudden there's this isolation. But they want to stay in their home, you know, and they want to continue to live their life.
Or one spouse ends up moves into assisted living or a skilled nursing situation, and the other one doesn't need to be there.
Right.
We see that all the time. I just want to get in and see my wife.
Right. And this gives
my
them,
husband.
yes, this gives them that other opportunity. So the next question I think that folks are probably wondering is, how can they be part of it? What do they need to do to help you guys out to help this be successful and get the word out? So what would you suggest?
Well, just if you know of anybody, let them know, and they can simply call Timber Trails and get more information if they didn't catch everything today. We hope to update the website to include this information on there, but that takes a little while.
Sure.
If you are, I have a 95-year-old mother. She chose to give up driving, but not everybody's that lucky, and so it's an option if you have a parent that. Especially in the winter.
Oh, my goodness.
To get into a warm vehicle that can take you from door to door. You don't have to, stop in the parking lot and worry about slipping. And I think if you have a parent that could use it, tell them about it.
Absolutely.
Help them get registered. Yes. And it's
or a neighbor.
Yeah,
if
or
you
a
know
neighbor.
You can call for somebody else. I am so proud of my staff. I think I have the best dispatchers in the world. You call them up, you talk to them. We're still building this out. We don't have all the answers yet, but what we're doing right now for the next week or so is anybody who calls, we're going to get your name and number. We're going to give you the basic information that we've got going, and then we're going to get back to you with the next step, which is going to be to fill out the form and get them registered, and then after that, then it's just call for the rides.
Sure, absolutely. So what's the best phone number? I know they won't necessarily remember it, but
it's 320
okay.
364 1350. That's the general line at Timber Trails. That'll get you to a dispatcher. Don't be afraid to leave a message. They check those messages every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I actually ended up dispatching on Friday because we were short. You'd be surprised how quick a phone call comes in and can go to message, and you didn't even know it was there. So they're constantly checking messages. Never be afraid. Also, timber.trails at co.kanabec.mn.us. We have an amazing number of people that email in their ride requests, and it's a wonderful way to do it. We have a written, we know how to get a hold of you. You can email your requests. We can confirm back to you. For folks that don't hear well or that have trouble with speech and things, that email, I didn't realize till I was dispatching how often that email address gets used. So that's a really key part of making it easy for somebody from Seattle who needs to help mom and dad get this together. Yeah. We can do it.
I love it. And I'll tell you what, I know for a fact, if you go to eastcentraltransit.com, that is the one-stop hub right now for all information.
All the local counties.
And so for Helen's email, for example, for Timber Trails and the phone numbers and the websites, you go there and all that's there and links, and you can click and go right to it, because it's hard with radio especially to remember numbers and letters and dots and all the above. So please go to eastcentraltransit.com. They do an awesome job. Ladies, is there anything else in summation here that we want to mention?
This is our chance. If this is our chance. If you're out there and you want to be able to get these assisted rides, now's your time to come forward. We've got the money this year. We can get you the rides, and we can begin to prove what's really needed for the future.
Absolutely.
This is 2 steps.
Yes. Great. And Kathy, I so appreciate what you're doing, getting the grant going in the first place, and you two working closely together to make this all happen. It's another service in our community, much needed. And I'm sure the surrounding counties as well are going to be going, you know what? Let's see what we can do.
There are a few, nothing local,
right.
But Scott County has hopscotch, and there are other counties. I love public transit. I really do. But we aren't the whole answer. Right. To everything. We've got to find these other pieces of the puzzle. I truly believe this is going to be one of the pieces.
Yeah, awesome. Wonderful. Ladies, both of you, I know you're both busy too, so I'm going to let you get back to what you're doing. But thanks for the information, and we'll keep folks updated.